Welcome to the United Stand. My name is Levin2K and I'm here to present the fan forum to you. 1-1, Manchester United versus Everton at Old Trafford. More points dropped at home. Old Trafford is, supposed to be a stronghold, but we've managed to drop points here again. We have the international break now. We've got a difficult run of fixtures. It's not the best time to be a Manchester United fan. And look, I've got two amazing, fans here with me who are gonna, give their opinions, give their insight. Kev, how you doing today, man?
Very well. I think I'll just start by saying thanks very much, Manchester United, for ruining my weekend. Cheers. Yeah. We got Alex. Alex, how you feeling, brother?
Sick of it all.
Yeah. Guys, it's a really frustrating result because ultimately we've had a bad run of performances. We got the win against Villarreal, which was very important. The 3 points was absolutely crucial, but another bad performance in that game. And, you look at this game and by the end of it, you're fed up. You're going, the football's not good enough. We've made silly mistakes. Everything's just going sort of wrong at the moment. And we really want it to go right because we have such a talented squad. And the time's ticking. Essentially for Ollie, there's going to be plenty of questions around Ollie and his ability as our manager, plenty of questions about players in our squad and the dynamics of how they fit. I want to start off with you, Kevin, ask you, this game, coming into this game, we almost took it for granted, right? People were saying, look, Everton, they're missing two of their key attacking players, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But you wouldn't have thought that. If you didn't know anything about Everton, you wouldn't have thought that they were missing two of their best players from watching this game. They looked very comfortable in Old Trafford and they looked to attack us plenty of times, right?
Yeah, for me, that just sums it up. And the question I would fire back is, what does that say about Manchester United and where we are if two of their best players were actually out today? I really, honestly, I'm struggling I don't even know really where to start with it. Team selection, very surprised that he started Cavani. Thought it was a great move. But at the same time, he's got Ronaldo and Pogba on the bench. And you look at it and think, really? Yes, they played on Wednesday night, but there's an international break now. So why rest them? Play them today. If they're fit enough to be on the bench, they're fit enough to start. And obviously, McFred, or whatever you want to call him, Fred and McTominay starting. We all knew he was going to do it. I don't think any of us sat here now talking, maybe in the live comments, would have wanted to see that as a pairing. The goal, Fred, a top class, right, central defensive midfielder would not have been muscled off the ball on the halfway line. Top players, let's just say Fernandinho, Man City, that would not have happened. You take a foul, a yellow card, you do whatever you have to do. Fred, just ease it, just muscled off the ball, they break away. And listen, before I was talking and I'm saying we're missing Harry Maguire. A lot of people have slated Maguire. I think it's become very clear that he is a big part of that back four. I thought Varane was left exposed on numerous occasions. Lindelof doesn't fill you with any confidence. If you see somebody running in one-on-one, the chances are, that something's going to happen. And I honestly, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. That is really, really disappointing. And we've got out of jail again. We could have quite easily lost that game today.
If Davies wasn't such an idiot, then we would have lost.
Yeah, exactly. If he's a bit more selfish and takes the shot on himself instead of trying to walk the ball into the net, we're talking about a defeat here. But as Manchester United, I said it the other night on the show, this is the first half-decent team that we've probably played in the Premier League, missing two of the best players, and we still can't put a performance in. Barring the Leeds game this season, we've not had a convincing performance where you go, yeah, that was it. Two halves of football that we played well in. And it cannot continue. It is not sustainable. The substitutions he made at the end, I'm just baffled, absolutely baffled as to what is going on in his head. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there in terms of the things that went wrong. And look, shout out to Denise Grant for joining the members club. And we got a super chat here from Michelle who says, how on earth can Ollie still justify selecting Fred? I've seen enough. Look, you talked about it, right? Where it's, Everton are sort of the first half decent team like you talked about, right? You know, when you're looking at the numbers and the stats, Everton have been one of the best teams in the Premier League thus far. You know, they've got their £1 million signing Damari Gray looking like, I don't know, prime Thierry Henry or something like, you know, they have looked, you know, really good, but ultimately this is a team we should be beating, and we sort of had chances to beat them. And this is the part that's confusing to me, Kev, right? And I'll you know, sort of ask you about this, Alex. It's like we take a step forward in certain areas, but then we take 2 steps back, because on one front, right, you know, when it comes to creating chances, we looked much better at that than we have in other games, where in other games we were taking a lot of long shots, right, and we weren't actually creating good, efficient chances. In this game we were, but the finishing was poor. We weren't clinical enough. And so you think that's good, but then you turn around for a second and you go, hold on a minute, we now just look completely disorganized. You know, people say, right, Fred and McTominay play because they are much better in transition than maybe Matic and Pogba would be. But we were getting killed in transition in this game, right? And so, Alex, we want progression, but we need progression on all fronts. We can't afford to take steps forward and then 7 steps backwards. And that's, you know, what it feels like we've done today, right?
Yeah, it really does. It's taken me so long to get to this point, but I was watching that, and like same with the Villa game, and just thinking like I feel like Ollie's done so much good for the club and for the team, but I feel like he might have taken us as far as we can go, because it's the same mistakes every week. Like with McTominay and Fred obviously being the one that sticks out. I'm not as bothered as some people with the Van der Beek thing all the time, but I don't understand like when you see Matic play, and okay, he does fade at around like the 70-minute mark or something. But if I was Ollie, I'd be playing Matic every single game. He's the only person that seems to be able to play that position, and he's just levels above McTominay and Fred. And okay, if we have like a Champions League, and then a league game, then don't play Matic in both those games, but you need to be playing him in one. Last season, he never plays Matic. It's ridiculous. And then, okay, Van der Beek again, he's not going to be doing a worse job than what these two are doing. So always when I've seen Van der Beek and Matic as a partnership as well, it's looked decent to me. But McTominay and Fred, it's just, we was talking off air, and I in the first half saying how we actually thought that they were doing all right, but then of course they revert back to type in the second half, and it's just so frustrating. Like the amount of times as well that we just seem to get caught with just like one centre back, like one defender back in all these games, because people like say we're defensive. We're not defensive, but it is just unorganised, because we just seem to chuck all of our players into the opposition half, and then we're left completely isolated on these counter attacks. And it happened. I can't remember the other one that it happened where, like obviously today when they scored, but then there was another game where Varane was left on his own and they scored because of that. What game was that? Anyone remember? No.
I can't remember.
And it was the same issue, but this isn't. It keeps coming up, like how open we are. It's, you know, we haven't kept a clean sheet now for 9 games, which is the longest in 50 years that we've gone without keeping a clean sheet.
Mad.
And the system is part of that, and the midfield is part of that. But every single person, we have been on this show last season saying we need a defensive midfielder. Everyone knew we needed a defensive midfielder. How can every single United fan, pundit, everyone know that we need it and then not buy one? It's like ridiculous. I think Sancho came on and played well today, but realistically speaking, we should have spent that Sancho money on someone like, if they wanted Rice or they want Calvin Phillips, someone like that, or Ndidi, something like that. Put the money towards a player like that, because it would have just been so much better than this. And like I said, I don't know where to go from here, because I don't think we're going to sign one in January, but I'm really starting to worry now about things like the Champions League group and things like that. And yeah, I
think Ronaldo after the game, I don't know whether you've seen him coming off the pitch,
yeah,
that probably
fuming.
summed up exactly how we all feel sat here as supporters today. Absolutely fuming. And there is a lot of people that subscribe to this theory that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as Manchester United manager, is untouchable. He signed this 3-year deal. Listen, Mourinho signed a new contract. Yeah, you know, what was it? A year down the line, he was gone.
I think even less than that.
Yeah, it means nothing in football, and a lot of people look at it and think, well, he's definitely got the 3 years. It's part of the plan, and that it's not. And what I'm going to say is about Ronaldo walking off the pitch, and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But let's not forget, there's a good few players in this squad that have got previous managers sacked. And I think once you start hearing little stories which haven't come out yet, but when you hear they don't trust the manager and the training and this and that, the tactics, the players aren't on board with it, that's when Manchester United will act. They'll look at things like that. And it only takes a big name like Ronaldo to start questioning Solskjaer, the likes of Pogba and that who have done it before, and he'll be gone.
I reckon as well, mate, you could see when he was sat on the bench that he was fuming that he wasn't starting this game.
Fuming.
Well, that's the thing to talk about, guys, because obviously the starting lineup was in question. You know, people go in, we have an international break. Why are you resting Ronaldo and Pogba and some of these other people? Personally, I didn't think the starting lineup was an issue. Outside of McFred, I'd rather not see McFred play. But outside of that, I didn't think the starting lineup was much of an issue. You look at the players who did come in. Lindelof wasn't bad today. Cavani was great, I thought, but he was obviously taken off. Martial obviously got the goal. I didn't think Martial was amazing, but he got the goal, and he was better than he's been in previous games. So when you look at it in hindsight, like the starting lineup wasn't really even that big of an issue. The team selection wasn't the biggest issue, but you can look at certain players in the game and go, I don't see what the intention is here, right? Fred made the mistake, right? And that's what allowed them to sort of, get back in the game or whatever. He takes Fred off. He takes Fred off for Pogba, right? He takes Fred off for Pogba. He brings on, Ronaldo and Sancho and all these other people. But it was like, we just looked very, very disorganized, right? We didn't look like we knew what it is we needed to do. And you referenced Maguire earlier. I think we did miss Maguire because I think in defense, we lacked that organization and you credit a lot of that to Maguire. I guess clearly we're lacking that. And it just wasn't, it's all over the place. And that's what I can't figure out, how we allow ourselves to get to, these phases in the game where it just looks so disorganized on all fronts, in attack, in defense. Because even when Fred got subbed off, right, this is the problem. Because I know a lot of people are blaming McFred and they are a big issue. We know this, they are a massive issue. But even when he took Fred off, we didn't look any better. We didn't look like we were going to go out there and win the game. So we still would have lost the game if it wasn't for Davies, right? So, there's clearly something more to it than just McFred. There's clearly bigger issues here in the way we play and what's going on. I personally don't see the long-term vision, right? I think that's the big thing. This first couple weeks of the season, right, you never really want to make conclusions about a team, right? We've seen teams be bad at this stage and then go on to win the Premier League. But you do sort of want to see at least a vision. You want to see where you're working towards. I can't see it. Can you guys see what it is? Like, I honestly don't see the vision here, Kev.
This has been going on for years, though. This isn't just a recent thing at the start of the season where you can put it down to, we're having a slow start to the season and, come whatever, December or that, we kick in, or that's what we do. That's because it isn't what we do. And last season, how many times did we only play 45 minutes of football? That is not sustainable in football. How many times were we behind at half time? Didn't turn up. We played 45 minutes of football, won a game. And for me, it goes back to that thing of what's the plan? What is the style of play? I don't know what it is. I want it to work. I want to see something happening. But after 10, 15 minutes today, I don't know. It just become apparent that we're just slipping back into the old routine, which there is absolutely nothing. I was gutted for Martial today because I thought he looked really good, really surprised that he was in the team, because I thought maybe his last chance would have been in the Carabao Cup against West Ham. I slated him. I said I wasn't impressed with his body language, the way he come across today. Takes his goal really well, and I thought he looked lively. It's a shame he had to come off injured. That would be one of the plus points of the game if we're trying to speak positively. And Jadon Sancho, I thought, looked good when he come on, starting to do the things that we seen in a Dortmund shirt, running at defenders, taking people on. But there's just so many question marks. I mean, Fred, I really don't know where to go with it. I mean, you really are getting into the territory of putting Fred in with Darren Gibson, Jemba Cleberson. He's in that mould. He's
50 million as well.
Do you know what? That's probably been a bit thingy on, like a bit harsh on them other players. They're probably levels above Fred.
Yeah. Shout out to Ellie Bell for the super chat. They said, I wouldn't even have been mad, but we could have got a decent CDM for cheap. Kessie Basuma, Locatelli, he's so stubborn and getting Rice that he's ignoring decent alternatives. We got some more super chats as well. We got one here from Gojira, who says, perfect example of bad management to start with 2 players he planned to sub anyway, just for formality. Average coaches with average coaching surrounded by a yes man with low management experience. Guys, keep getting your super chats in. Sorry if we do miss a few. We'll try to get as many up. If we don't read it out, we'll try at least get it on the screen at the very least. But guys, you know, I think that one's an interesting point, right, when it comes to the sub swing, right? Because subbing off Cavani and who else was it that you subbed off? Was it Martial?
Martial, yeah.
So subbing off Cavani and Martial to me was very, very weird because I didn't feel like there was a need for it, especially when you look at what Cavani was offering us and what Cavani continues to offer us with, you know, the pressing from the front, the energy he brings, you know, as well as the great positioning, being able to occupy space, all these kind of things. You know, you lose some of it with Ronaldo coming on, and we saw that when, you know, when Ronaldo came on. Is it just a formality? Like, does this almost give us insight into the way Oli feels? Like, did Oli think, look, we probably are going to be better if I do play Cavani, you know, let me play him, and then when we get a lead, I bring on Ronaldo? Like, what was the thinking around that? And can you guys even try rationalize that? Because personally, I'm really confused by that. It doesn't make much sense to me at all.
To be fair, I wasn't remotely against Cavani starting. I think he's way too good to be sat on the bench, and I didn't really understand people complaining about Cavani starting, especially against Everton, who he scored against every single time he played them last season. And like you said, I thought he was all right. It was ridiculous to take him off, and I feel like he must just think, unless we're going really like throwing the kitchen sink at it in like the last few minutes, that you can't play Ronaldo and Cavani together. But like Ronaldo kept like dropping deep the whole time anyway, so it wasn't like he was like staying up in that position. So I don't really understand the thing of that they can't play together, because Cavani drifts wide, Ronaldo drifts wide, and they can all interchange. So I think they can play together. And okay, you'll say you're playing 2 old people there, but Cavani presses better than anyone else in the team anyway. So like that doesn't stick. So I don't understand it. To be fair, with the Martial sub, I actually was in favour of doing that, because I thought apart from...
Because he was injured. He had a knock,
was he actually
though,
injured?
so it made sense. Yeah, he
okay,
was limping, so that one made sense. But like Cavani...
I was thinking to probably take Martial off anyway for Sancho, because I thought apart from the goal, he was a bit quiet in my opinion. And I thought Sancho, like we said, did really good. But the Cavani one, the only thing I can think, playing devil's advocate, is that... maybe because he's just come back from injury, and you know, Cavani says when he's ready to play and stuff, because he knows his body better, as Ollie always says. So maybe he's like easing him back into the team.
Yeah, and look, I want to emphasize again. I saw a chat here. Wait, let me try to get it up, because I thought it's a great point. You know, we just didn't look organized. Like we talked off stream obviously before we started up, right? But something I referenced to you guys, right, was Sancho, when he got put on the left, he looked good. But one thing that was constantly happening was he was getting like double and triple teamed, right? He'd be marked by like 3 guys. And so the logical thing is Luke Shaw gets into space, you know, to support Bruno, who's the number 10 supposed to be drifting across, right? Gets into space to support. But like that wasn't happening, right? When Ronaldo got subbed on, Bruno started playing as a striker, right? You know, and it's not like I'm you know, chastising these players and I'm not saying Luke Shaw and Bruno are bad, but like, we did look very unorganized. It didn't look like there was a cohesive system where players understood where they needed to be and how they needed to interact. It did start to look a bit like hero ball by the end. And, you know, that's not sustainable. We can't afford to do that. Kev, you know, going into this international break now, to you, what needs to change when we come back? Because we have a hard run of games.
I'll just pick up quickly what Alex said, because I was going to say the exact same thing about today. I mean, tactically, that's not tactics when you're throwing on Pogba and Ronaldo. Alex summed it up perfectly. That's throwing the kitchen sink. That is panic stations. That is the big red button that you press where you know, the panic button. That is, let's just throw the whole lot up. Bruno playing up front and all that. That's literally just going for it. But yeah, back on that question, Levin, we're going into an international weekend. And what did I say earlier? Why are we resting players for an international break? Yes, we played on Wednesday night, but can anybody seriously say that Wednesday night really took it out of us? It drained the players, because we were awful on Wednesday. We all know that we got out of jail. You know, if that was a game of Monopoly, we used the get out of jail free card. We've wrote that game off and gone, Jesus, how daylight robbery, man. We've literally gone in, you know, took the 3 points and ran out the shop. And we got 3 points, but we write it off and we moved on to today. But what have we learned from today? Nothing. All we're left with is more questions than answers. When
You're saying,
really today, yeah, we wanted the answers.
you're saying about the Villarreal game, and don't get me wrong, we were bad, but this is kind of a running trend as well. We lost to Villa, we lost to West Ham. I know it was the backups, but when you look at like City or Liverpool, it doesn't matter who you take out of their team, that they'll still play the same way, and it doesn't make a huge difference when you take them out of their play. So if we were like coached properly, you could even argue with like when we played these reserves, like the reserve team that should have wiped the floor with West Ham. They were all internationals. It's a good team.
Yeah, look, thank you once again for all the super chats coming in. Shout out to Uncle Arnold. He said, all last year we said we will be having this conversation all year long. J2020 is still, it's 2021. We are still having the McFred convo. Hashtag Ollie out. He said, look, guys, that is the big thing, right? And Alex, you've, harped on this on Twitter, on here, right? We knew, right, in the transfer window what we needed to do recruitment-wise. And we got some good things done. We brought in some great players, but we didn't get that position in the middle of the park. That clearly was a big issue for us, and that might be his downfall now. If these are the final, days, obviously not actual days, but if these are the last days of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we're going to look back and say that was his biggest downfalls, right? His selection in the midfield and that conundrum. Look, Pogba, when Pogba was coming on, Pogba didn't look too happy, right? And I do want to have a conversation about this. Pogba didn't look too happy when he came on. And I don't know what Ollie's, sort of view of Pogba is in the squad, right? We don't know what Ollie's, role for Pogba is, because him sort of siphoning Pogba out of the squad might be preparation for when Rashford comes back. I don't think he's going to play Pogba on the left when Rashford comes back. I think he'll think he has Rashford, he has too many options there. And he doesn't want to pick him in the midfield, right? He wants to pick McFred. He doesn't, I don't know if he just doesn't trust Pogba to play in the midfield alongside anybody. So what's going to happen with Pogba now, guy? Well, what do you envision for Pogba? Because he is in the final year of his contract. The club apparently want to keep him. And if they're going to keep him, it's going to be on a mad salary. It's going to be on like 400k a week or something silly. You can't have that guy as a bench player. What is the long-term role for Pogba now in the squad moving forward? Oh, I forgot to direct this one of you. I'll go to you, Alex. Sorry.
I don't know. I really think it's hard with Pogba because obviously his best position is that 4-3-3, and 4-3-3 is the formation I want to play. But I feel like when we were in that Villarreal game, I think maybe Ollie doesn't know how to play that formation, because I thought that when we played the 4-3-3, that Bruno and Pogba were way too far up the pitch. Like, I know obviously that is part of their role, that gives them the license to go forward, but I thought that they were too far forward, and then McTominay was like completely isolated so many times in the game, and I think it does kind of boil down to a point that if like the 4-2-3-1 is the only formation that Pogba and Bruno can be in the same starting 11, in my opinion, and then you have people question, and rightfully so at times, that can Pogba play in that midfield too, especially with the personnel we have. Like, the best person really to play next to him would be Matic, but Matic doesn't really have the legs to have a Pogba-Matic midfield. Is quite it doesn't really have the energy really that you need. Like, obviously for France, he has Kante, and we need a sort of player like that, but so I think you maybe should experiment with like maybe Fred there, because Van der Beek isn't going to be able. You can't play Pogba Van der Beek either. So this is the conundrum we're in, because we didn't sign that damn midfielder that we needed so badly. But with Pogba, I think now there was obviously the positive signs that he was going to sign a new contract, but I feel like I don't think he will now. And then we're going to lose such a valuable player, or such an expensive player as well, for a free twice.
Yeah. Kev, do you envision this becoming a problem where he feels, because a part of me does think, he made that decision to bring on Pogba just purely because he felt like he needed to play Pogba, right? Because if you look at that game, I think it would have made more sense to bring on Matic for Fred at that point in the game, right? But he did decide to bring on Pogba. Do you feel like this is going to become a problem where he feels the need to play players, even if, it's against what maybe is going to work for the team in that specific moment? Can you envision that being a problem?
It's going to be a problem for him. The substitutes have to have an impact, and at the end of the day, you have to say that is on him today. As he brought him on because of his name, because he's Paul Pogba. Again, I can't get my head around the fact that he didn't start today. I really am scratching my head as to the fact that it's an international week, so most players will have a bit of a break and that, and he decides to leave him on the bench. And we know what Pogba's like as well, and the way the agent works. this will just work. It just falls into their hands beautifully.
Always happens on an international break as well. That the stuff
I forgot. Oh.
Now is a message to Raiola just to say something. And International Week, we know Raiola always comes out. There'll be a Pogba story, and it'll be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is disrespecting Paul Pogba. How dare he leave him on the bench? If he can't get a game against Everton, I'll have to look to move my client on somewhere else, and he'll pimp him out somewhere. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And this comes down to management and the way that Solskjaer is going to have to manage this situation. But he's just handed it on a plate to Raiola.
I completely 100%. Forgot about that. It's so like, it's actually set up perfectly. International break. We just played bad. Pogba didn't start. It's literally a guaranteed Raiola interview where he chats absolute shit. Wow. Well, at least we know we're going to get that at some point. Look, guys, there is a lot going wrong right now. And ultimately, right, we have to save face because we have a long season ahead. You know, I was in there before we started. I was in there sulking in my room, and my mum, who doesn't really know much about football, is going, why are you upset, man? You know, at least you didn't lose. And she doesn't understand, right? Of course, my mum doesn't understand. So she was like, at least you didn't lose, right? And I'm like, looking at her like, yeah, I beg you, shut up, please. I beg you, just relax your mouth for a second, please, right? But what I'm trying to get from that is are there any positives you can take out of this moving forward? Because we can talk here about the negatives for 20 hours long, but are there any things that you can take out that are going to be pivotal to us being able to turn this around after the international break? Because we can't give up on the season now. We have to come back after the international break and look to win games, whether it's with or without Oli. That's separate. But in our squad, when you're looking at the players, are there positives you can take out? I'll start with you, Alex. So is there anything that you can take out?
Well, just that in the last two games, because of Villarreal as well, I thought it was good, is that Sancho seems to be getting a bit more acclimatized to the team and how to play within it. That's pretty much the only positive. But Martial obviously getting his first goal in like 8 months, I think it was. So hopefully he builds confidence of that. But then obviously with Rashford back, it's already seeming now, as today showed, quite a hard balancing act because we have so many good attacking players. Like Lingard got the winning assist the other day and then he didn't get off the bench today. And Rashford's back, and Rashford I think is going to start every game, so it'll probably be Greenwood who will drop out because that Greenwood seems to be starting every game at the moment. But you've seen now that he kind of like hung himself with the starting selection, because you knew when Ronaldo was dropped, if we were to drop points today, that major questions would be asked because why didn't you start Ronaldo? Why didn't you start Ronaldo? And I'm sure that is instantly what he's going to get. So in terms of positives, the Sancho one is really the only one I can think of.
Kev, is there anything for you?
Positives, I thought the pitch looked quite nice in good condition. Sancho, I think we're starting to see what he's all about, which is great. I know it was a bit of a cameo in coming on today, but certainly looked like he's been told to attack defenders, play that way that he played at Dortmund. Martial getting a goal, coming on, actually looking interested, I thought was a plus point. And I think personally the negatives heavily outweigh the positives today. I really do. And do you know the question? I'll throw it out to the free seats. I'll throw it out to you, Levin and Alex. I think the question you need to be asking yourself this evening as a Manchester United fan, this squad is probably the best squad of players we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson. And it would be, do you think that a better manager would get more out of this current squad of players?
We should be challenging for the title. It's as simple as that. There's no excuses when you have players like on your bench. Normally, you have a class player like Cavani who could literally walk into most teams in the world and players like that. Like we have Sancho on the bench so often. You have Ronaldo in your starting 11. You have to be challenging. But like I said to you guys before we went on air, and it's a point I used on the show like ages ago, is how far down do you have to go down the Premier League as a 2 to get a worse midfield than the midfield that Ollie starts every week? And it's not like we don't have players that could play. You could have played Pogba today in the midfield. You could have played Van der Beek. You could have played Matic. But McTominay and Fred as a duo, like Alan and Decore, were absolute levels above them. And there should never be, okay, you can have obviously 1 or 2 players maybe from a team like Everton that you'd be like, oh, I'd take them at United. But when both the both of your like midfielders would walk into Man United's team, it's real issues, and they're not the only team. Like Villa have a better midfield than us. It's just so frustrating, and you can make a case for the midfield being like the most important part of the team, and you see how open we are to. They don't offer much defensively. They don't offer much attacking. It's like, I don't get why he just starts them every game. Okay, Matic hasn't got the legs. Van der Beek he doesn't trust, but they're not going to do, like we said on the last show that I was on, they're not going to do any worse than what McTominay and Fred are doing. So
sorry, Alex. I was going to say, the thing is, Everton, if we look at them two teams today, and that is the word team, they played as a team, as a collective group of players. We have got lots of great individuals that just do not perform in any kind of system. And dare I say it, I don't like Rafa Benitez because he's an ex-Scouser and he's a fat Spanish waiter or whatever. But you put him in charge of our group of players, yeah? You put him in charge of that group of players today. There would be a game plan. And, you know, Benitez is experienced and you do it. Don't even clip me up and for 1 minute suggest that I'm saying bring in Rafa Benitez for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well.
Yeah, and you know they will try to. You know they will try to. But look, on the topic of managers, you know, we've had many conversations and debates about, you know, whether the manager's good enough. And the reality is the majority of people walking away from, you know, this game and the recent one of games will be thinking he's not good enough. That is the reality. And going into international break, there are going to be the reports, right? You're going to start seeing reports of, oh, Zidane contacted, oh, Conte contacted. Even if it's not true, even if the club isn't actually contacting these managers, you are going to start to hear the reports, and the pressure is going to start to build on Oli. You know, things need to improve, right? Things need to improve. It's sad that there are some people who aren't even surprised by this, right? There's a large group of people that aren't surprised by how bad we were today, because it's becoming a bit of a running theme. It is seemingly becoming a bit of a running theme. Look, once again, I keep thanking the super chats. Be sure to keep liking the video, guys. I'm seeing a lot of people already recommending what managers they'd like to see in. I don't think it's going to be Casey Stoney though. Look. Oh God.
Well, the women's team actually wins something, so.
Well, look, you know, the women's team probably are, you know, having a bit more success than us right now. Look, I want to say to you guys, I want to get some final thoughts from you on sort of the game and, you know, moving forward, because people have been mentioning it and we haven't talked about it yet. But at the end of the game, Oli looked happy. He was like shouting at Scott to move into some sort of position, but then he starts going. I'm not gonna lie to you.
When that happened, I turned to my brother-in-law. I'm like, I guarantee you this will be on Twitter in like the next 2 minutes. And sure enough, I opened up my Twitter and it was all over my timeline.
Look. I always try to be fair, innit? I always try to be fair. I've never been disrespectful to Oli. I've never, you know, called him a PE teacher or nothing. But big man, you can't be can't be doing that. Like, because the problem is, right, is that even if it's not true, right? I think it's true, but even if it's not true, everybody sees that and thinks to themselves, "So Alex would be fuming, bruv. Are you mad? Like you can't be smiling and laughing on the touchline after the game like that. You can't." And it does give that sort of feeling of, you know, the sort of standards have dropped, the levels have dropped. I expect him to be standing there furious, because I think he had reason to be furious. Like, obviously, yeah, blame has to go on him and the coaching staff. But he'll be looking at his players going, you know, what's going on out there, right? That's what it should be. But he almost seemed content with it. You know, he seemed like, oh, yeah, you know, these things happen. At least we got the 1 point. Like, it can't be that way. We can't allow this to be, you know, what happens. And some people say we're reading too much into it. But ultimately, it's becoming a bit of a running theme, right, Kev?
Yeah, it is, mate. It really is. Do you know, I've come to the point, I'm absolutely kind of lost for words. I think today has just took so much out of me. And like I say, I'm just left with more sort of questions than answers. And I think it's very, I'm kind of getting used to it as a United fan, to be honest, because we have had this over the years. And the managers we brought in, Moyes, we never really knew what style of play. We went into Louis van Gaal, Mourinho, and in fairness to them too, they brought trophies to Manchester United. The main thing for me is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has actually admitted that there was always a 3-year plan, and this year United have to be competitive. Like Alex said, we should be, because of the group of players that we have got. But it does come down to the question now. And really, if we do not win a trophy this season, it's time for Manchester. If Man United are serious about being ambitious and competitive, they would look at it and change the manager. I would be very worried if we didn't win anything this season and they decide to stick with Solskjaer, because then we're knowing exactly what these owners want, and it isn't to be competitive. It's to be finishing in the top 4, and that is it. That's when we go down the Glazer route of it's to do with share prices. Signing players like Ronaldo is brilliant, but we've seen exactly what it's brought to them financially, what it puts on the overall value of the club. So it would be a bit of a kick in the teeth, really, if they were to stick it out like.
Yeah,
if we drop down into the Europa League again, there's no excuse to stick with them. And that is a very, very, very real possibility. If we didn't score that last-minute winner, that would have been. And like I said, like I was saying to you off the air, we need to win all our home games now and win in either Villarreal or Atalanta. And with how we're playing at the moment, do you have faith that we're going to get a win at either of those places? We only need one, but I don't.
Even if we go through, you look at this, I know this is a very negative spin to put on it, but the worry for me is, and I've said it already this season, wait until we play somebody decent. Let's say a Liverpool and Man City with that midfield of Fred and McTominay. It's going to be really, really thinking. But what I'm going to say is about qualifying for the Champions League. Imagine we meet the likes of Bayern Munich or something in the last stages. I mean, that's a frightening thought.
But with like Levin, you said off air that, don't you, that you think, well, because I was saying how usually actually against the good teams is where we've actually played all right because we can soak up and counter. But you think with Ronaldo in the team that we won't play like that, don't you?
Well, with Ronaldo in the team, it's going to sound weird saying this, and I know people will take it out of context either way, but it's almost like you have like a passenger in that game because he's not, getting back to do the defensive work that like a Cavani would, that you sort of need in that kind of game. So I don't know how we're going to approach those games, but it will have to be somewhat different. And I don't know if we'll be as strong in those types of games, but we have to sort of wait and find out.
You have a situation now, like what you were saying with Pogba and with like Ronaldo, that we have such big names in the team. That there are certain games where it would be better to drop like someone like a Ronaldo and play a Cavani or someone. But you can't do it because it's like it will cause so much like issues in the changing rooms. That's the problem.
Yeah. Look, I want to address something quickly. Milverton, I've seen you, bringing in some super chats. There was nothing disrespectful about it. It's a figure of speech. It's something that's used plenty of times when referencing an agent and their clients. People refer to them as being pimped out. It's a figure of speech. It's not literal. Don't take offense to it. It's not disrespectful whatsoever. You're reading too much into it. Got some more super chats here. We got one from Shahid who says Ten Hag will read out United and revive Van der Beek's career. Well, look, they're both Dutch and he's obviously managed him before, so I'm sure he definitely make use of him. Guys, I want to thank you guys all in the chat for hanging out, giving us your thoughts, all the super chats. We really appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, comment down below, right? Who do you think Carrick's on the phone with? He's always on the phone at the start of the match. He always whips out his earphones and he's talking to someone. Who do you think he's on the phone with? Comment down below. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. Kevin, Alex, it's always a pleasure. Where can the people find you? Kev, we'll start with you.
YouTube, Man United Vancam, and Twitter. What is it? Twitter, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And Grinder at Kevin. I'm only joking. I'm not on Instagram.
He was here. He's not on Instagram. I'll tell you that much. Hey, Alex, where can the people find you?
Just AA_UTD on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, fair enough. Be sure to check him out. You can catch me at Levin2K on all platforms, not Grinder like Kev. We'll see you guys all very, very soon. Have a good day. Please, if your weekend has been ruined by Manchester United, take a chill night, enjoy yourself, do something that you love, get your mind off it. We have an international break now. No more of this Ollie ball for a couple of weeks. See you guys all later. Good night.
Southgate ball, great.